What is up, everybody? It is Captain Panda, and I love vampires. It's kind of like my thing that I didn't realize was my thing until just recently, about a couple years ago. I love Bram Stoker's Dracula book. It's probably my most favorite book I've ever read. I just love I love when anime can have good vampire shows. Not saying there's a lot of bad ones, there is, but for this one, Castlevania, the one I'm going to be reviewing, it is actually good. If you want to know what it's basically about Dracula, who decides that humanity needs to be wiped out because of a situation that he was in, and then we follow our hero, who is Trevor Belmont, and this is basically about him finding his strength again to kind of find hope and, kind of realize that he needs to stand up for what he believes in and everything, and basically lead on to go fight Dracula with his newfound group that he is in. That's pretty much what it is. Do I recommend this? Yes, I do. I do recommend the show. I say go watch it if you want to watch it. It's 4 episodes. It's not even that long. It's 4 episodes. I gotta say, for 4 episodes, it's pretty good. We'll be getting into spoilers here. So, yeah. Dracula is the first character here. And I gotta say, finding out about his motivations and everything, getting to know his character just a little bit on how he kind of perceives his wife in every way, and how he kind of is seeing the new world, and how he thinks about humans, and how he kind of gets his new found life with his wife, and how that's taken away from him in episode 1. It's pretty good. I gotta say, it's a good start for the anime. I think episode 1 is pretty solid for Dracula in showing his motivations in his life with his new wife, which is Lisa, and she also had a good introduction, I feel like, showing their kind of bond together and how they met and how they kind of bonded, and then how they got married and everything, and then showing her death and his motivations to go forward and to destroying humanity. It is a really good motivation and a really good start to this anime. First episode is really solid. It's probably one of the best paced first episodes I've seen in a while. It's just really good. Getting into other characters, Trevor Belmont. Trevor Belmont is a character that is very much a washed up drunk, and what I like about this is that when we are introduced to Trevor Belmont, it's not just he's explaining himself to us in a way that's weird, that why would he explain himself to nothing or to the audience, because that doesn't make any sense, or are we going to get a voiceover, in some way? No, what they do is they have drunks at a bar kind of explain the Belmonts to us without actually and through obvious cues, you can tell that they're talking about the Belmonts, and the Belmonts is the guy sitting at the table. He is one of the Belmonts in the family, and then obviously that introduces us to Trevor and his whole lineage and what he is all about, and then kind of you can see through his own actions and what he does later on that he's a washed up monster hunter who kind of is going through the motions and waiting, I guess, to die from these monsters. And honestly, this is kind of the whole crux of the rest of the show. 2 through 4 is the big crux of Trevor Belmont's kind of coming into terms with who he is and finding that hope and finding the resolve to go on with his life. And it's done pretty well, I gotta say. What this does well is that he finds these people called the Speakers. And the Speakers, I feel, are very good at fleshing out the world in some ways, but also adding new characters in that you wouldn't think would add to the show. I was just like, okay, how are they going to do this? Because most of the time in these kind of vampire shows, it's usually peasants and vampires, and then you get some knights or whatever in there. But it's cool that we get some speakers in there. Also, it's cool because the church is a good kind of representation in this too, of showing that everybody's for the church, but these speakers are not for the church. They're for themselves. They have their own kind of religion, apparently, and they have their own kind of historical knowledge as well. And it's pretty cool to see like them as like representing something different, while the church and everybody else is representing something else, as you know, like something that you would all know as Christianity or Catholic kind of church, and how they do their things. Now the church is interesting as well, because the church is like, they're very much like they're like the evil church everybody thinks of. They're just like, you know, these demons are coming, and then they use these speakers to say that the speakers are what bringing the demons here. So then they kind of want to go, so then all the people want to go kill the speakers. Now this leads to Trevor and the speakers kind of working together, because Trevor's just like, I'll help you because I know how it feels to be discriminated against. I know how it feels to be wrongfully accused of doing something that we didn't do. So he's just like, I'll help you guys out. Now this is really good. I like that they're like adding a connection between these people, and also this helps him grow as a character and kind of get back to who he is, and kind of realize that he needs to fight for what he believes in, because these speakers say, we're not going to leave, because he's been telling them this whole time, like, you need to leave, like, this place, they're going to kill you. And they're just like, we fight for who we are, like, and we are not going to run away from this battle. You can leave because you're clearly defeated. Something happened to you, obviously, that, you know, they've been, like, his family has been tarnished by this, by the church and everything. Like, you have been defeated, and you can leave. And this kind of turns the conversation around, where he was telling them for a long time for them to leave, and then they're just like, no, you leave. And it's cool to see him kind of realize in that moment that he is the one that's like really shit and that he needs to kind of turn his life around. And then when he does realize that and realizes he needs to stand up for who he is, he finds that hope. He finds that he needs to help the people, and that he needs to be who he is and be a Belmont, because that's like his whole thing. It really pays off. And I gotta say, episode 4, once he starts fighting all the people, all the demons and everything in the town, it works, and it's really nice to see. I really like that it's not just him slashing and dashing around the screen, you know, like being OP like main character. He actually needs to use strategy with the salt and whatnot, and also he needs to use strategy with other people. He can't just do it by himself. He needs other people to help him out, because he's just one man. So it's pretty cool that he needs multiple people, even the peasants around the village, to kind of help him out. And I gotta say, that's pretty interesting. The choreography for the fights are pretty good, and also the presentation of scenes is also really good. And what I mean by this is, there's multiple times where this show is very horrific, and I gotta say, horror anime sometimes don't know what they're doing when they want to make a horror. But in these, and I'm not saying like this is trying to be a horror 100% of the time, but when it tries to be a horror, I think it succeeds. In these scenes, like such as blood is dripping down from the sky onto these people, and like they held out their hands to see what the frick it is, and it's blood. And also the demons crawling out of the windows and stuff, this kind of grabbing people and like taking them and whatnot, or like setting them on fire. Like it's horrific to see. And I gotta say, I gotta give props to Netflix for doing that. I really do like it. Some things I didn't like about the show. I felt that some characters, such as the woman speaker who kind of joins the battle towards the end of the show, I didn't really feel like she was fleshed out as much, or she was used in the right ways. Like, the speakers were pretty nice in the show, but I feel like she should have been the main voice of the speakers in ways when she did return to the scene, but it was still used as the old man was. I felt like she should have been, but it was fine. She's not bad, but also she wasn't fleshed out enough, and that has to do with the 4-episode structure. She just didn't have enough time to do anything except help out Trevor when they did. And it's not like she was bad. You obviously got that she was, you know, helping him because he helped her, and also that she was standing up for standing up for what she believes in. Obviously that's what the speakers are for, but I feel like she should have got more on an individual basis than what just the speaker said earlier. Also, I gotta say, Dracula and not being able to see him at all after the first episode, I feel like them setting him up as a pretty decent character for the most part, and having a very good first episode of kind of setting them all up. I feel like not seeing him at the end of like the season, at least, or at least as any point in the season after episode 1, I feel like it was a misstep. I would rather have seen him at any point, seen his state of being, his mind, and how he's thinking, what he's doing at this point. It'd be nice just to see his character again, just to kind of get a reassurance of like, is he still in that state of just anger and just like depression and everything about his wife dying and whatnot. And we just don't know. I'm gonna guess probably, because I mean it's Dracula, but just as a character perspective, I rather would have seen some of that. And obviously like season 2 might get into that, but I think for this season, I think they should have shown it at least once, to kind of get us like just to show us his character again. I just feel like it should have been in there. Moving on to art and animation. Art and animation, pretty good. I do like the art overall. I do like that Netflix didn't use CGI. Yeah, no, don't want any of that CGI bullshit in my face, okay? It's just so stupid. I don't like that Knights of Sidonia kind of look. Nothing against Knights of Sidonia. No, I don't want any of that. That's just not good. I like that they went whole hand-drawn stuff and whatnot. And for most part, I don't think CGI was even used. And if it was, they hit it pretty well. For the most part, I gotta say the animation was nice. Definitely towards the end with the Alucard fight and that whole scene, that animation was great. There was points in it where the animation like dropped frames, and I don't know if that was intentional. Like it definitely seemed like it was dropping frames a little bit on Netflix. I was like that animation is not like as smooth as it could have been, but it definitely was just in a couple places. But I just thought I should mention it because I did notice it when I was watching. And honestly, for me, I'm not really like that picky on art and animation, but definitely if I'm saying like if it drops frames when it looks kind of iffy there at times, I think that kind of means something. So yeah, I definitely think that's what it did. Overall, I would give this anime an 8 out of 10. Castlevania is a great adaptation and story of the video games, and just a great short vampire anime season, but having such a short season does hinder it in some areas. Like I said, Dracula and some other characters that we didn't really get into, like Alucard and the Sorcerer Speaker and whatnot, and also the presentation of scenes and also the use of pacing throughout this show, throughout episode 1, which I think is probably the best paced episode, and all the way through 2 to 4, which also has good pacing. I really do like a lot of the show, and I feel like it just needs the recognition it needs. I do think season 2 is going to elaborate a lot more on what is going to be going on with some characters and whatnot, especially like Alucard and some other characters as a Sorcerer Speaker, and maybe get some more with Dracula and whatnot. But yeah, overall, I do think this is a good start to the season. Definitely season 1 is pretty good, and I can't wait for season 2. What do you guys think about this show? I honestly liked it a lot, but I know some people have different opinions and whatnot, so I would like to hear yours. So yeah, tell me what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys later.